I have two. I brought one in and my husband brought one in. So we have an older
Okay.
son,
Yeah.
Sam, who is wonderful. He's actually up in Massachusetts.
Mhm.
And then Christopher is our younger son, who one is 40, one is 30, and they're both wonderful, wonderful kids.
Well, wait a minute. You have them when you were 16?
Pardon me?
You have them when you were 16?
I wish I was really, I'll tell you, I was 32 when I got pregnant and almost 33 when I had them. And my parents had no faith in me because I was not very child oriented. In fact, they were like, "We'll raise him for you. You have to feed him every day." I mean, it was just terrible.
They knew you.
Yeah, they knew me and they knew I really did not like, it's not that I didn't like children. I liked them when you
You
had
did
them.
not
And
feel fit for it,
I
probably.
didn't feel fit for it. It wasn't my focus. I
Was it
didn't,
your career that was more important at that time, you thought?
yeah,
Mhm.
my career was more important to me than, the men in my life.
Right.
I anybody who I was dating, seriously dating, and I was engaged a few times before I got married, if it was a choice between them and the career came first. I mean, that's
Mm.
just how focused I was.
Yeah.
And I worked very hard at it and I loved what I did. And, the only man, I always say this, the only man I would sacrifice my career for was my child, Christopher. And so switching from surgery to anesthesia was a huge thing for me. But it did allow me to have a little bit more control.
Mhm.
And really, when I was married and we were in Massachusetts, and being chief of anesthesia meant that not only was I practicing clinically, but I also had all sorts of other things that I had to do that, had to do with the hospital and compliance and verifying different doctors. And it was a lot of hours. And I was on call at that time every other night from home, which
Jeez.
meant, and my hospital was a good 45 minutes from where I lived. So if I got called in for an emergency case in the middle of the night, I was driving 90 miles an hour down the Mass Pike to get to that hospital with my child in the back seat,
Oh my
asleep on
God.
the, yeah.
This is so hard to imagine for somebody who is not a doctor, that you actually have no life. You are devoted to this profession.
You
Yeah.
know what? It absolutely. In fact, where they got the term resident or residency is because
Yeah.
doctors used to live in the hospital, and it
Right.
made sense because you had to be there at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And it was a very hard way of life. It was very stressful. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep during that time. I really, looking back on it, medical school residencies, and I was a resident for 4 years of surgery, 3 of anesthesia, 1 to specialize in pain, so 8 years of residency after 8 years of training. And, during that time, I don't really remember too many Christmases or Thanksgivings or anything like that. It's pretty
It was
much a
kind of
blur.
sidetrack. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's
that's
it's a
really
very
sad.
tough life, yeah.
Yeah.